Alright, so we should have everything we need. So the next thing I want you to do is go to the master. This is what I created here. I created a new custom event and I'm sagging the sprite color by just getting the sprite for here we get and essentially sagging sprite color, making sure that that color is set to red. So do this and then this. And what essentially that does, if I disconnect it here for you to see it, and I compile and save, is every time I get hit or the creature get hit, they turn into red. You can see that right here. But what I wanted is to just be a visual indication that the creature is being hit. So if I go here, I just do a retrieval delay of 2 seconds. After the retrigger happen, what happens after is that it's turned the color back to white. And this color here, by the way, when you select a sprite, is the full color that we see here on the sprite color. So if I did this, what's going to happen is every time I get hit, I flash to symbolize each hit, and you can see I died after 3 hits. And if I go here and I span the life of the Porygon, eventually it dies. I said Porygon, but it's slime. I think about Ragnarok. Cool. So what I need to do, like we said in the last class, is just despawn it. So in my masters, every time someone die, including me, what I can do is literally add the destroy actor. That should be enough. So if I attack a few times, let me die first to see what's gonna happen. There you go, game over. Ignore that. But then if I attack the slime, it despawns and are completely gone. Just like that, we set up despawn for both me and the enemy. Let's say if by after the main character is there, you don't want it to despawn, you just want the enemy to despawn. One of the things that you can do is just right click, get reference to self, and you can just cast to PPC master monster and just despawn or destroy the actor if it is the master monster child. So if I compile and save this, and I press play now, if I get hit a few times, I'm still dead in the world. The game doesn't stop running, but I can always remove the enemy like that. So that's another alternative too if you want to do like that. I think I'm gonna leave like this for now. So there's only one thing left, and I'm just gonna show to you. So we can play it right now. We can destroy the enemies, but my punch is not that long. I want to have something like a particle effect that goes around me, almost like a magical sword. And that's what's hitting the characters. I know my hitbox is just a box facing forward, but what I can do is just change that to be around me. So I'm gonna do that really quick, because I think if I do an area of attack type of deal, like something that goes around me, it's gonna be easier too, because these creatures, when we have a bunch of them, they have collision, right? I can go through them. So I just want something that's an area of attack. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my characters inside Blueprint. Play a hero. Actually, it was right here. PPC play a hero. Get my box here. I'm gonna reset the position. And actually, I'm gonna move this thing all the way on top of me. And I'm gonna say 2. Oops, let me Ctrl Z. Unlock this, 2 here, 2 here. And this is like an area of attack that I'm gonna be creating. Actually, probably need to be a little bit bigger, not gonna lie. I'm gonna say 2.5, 2.5. Okay, that makes sense for me. And I'm already thinking about how this particle effect is gonna look. So if there's a bunch of creatures around me, I'm just casting this magical sword that's hitting everyone. So I don't get pinned down by the enemy. Right, so what I'm gonna do now, if you go to characters, play a hero, in our animation source, we did set up before, when you select attack, the attack hitbox that we're using for make sure that we're hitting the enemy, and then we did have a notified track called particle effect. I want you to delete that one because I didn't notice at the moment. That is the old particle system in Unreal called Cascade. I didn't even know this was still here. But the one we want is to get a Niagara particle effect. Some of you might have put the correct one out of the batch, but I'm pretty sure I did the incorrect one. So I just want to make sure to point that out. Right, so here we can load any particle effect, and that's cool, but let's create one from scratch. I'm gonna go to my effects folder, and I already have a folder called Player Attack. If you want to create one, it's Ctrl-Shift-N, you can create that folder for you. Niagara System, and what I'm looking for is something that is omnidirection, which means in every direction. Okay, so the omnidirection burst is a good template to start. Essentially what we're doing here, we're just picking a bigger template. There is a head start for us, so we don't need to create from scratch. So I just want that behavior created. I'm going to say NS player attack. Okay, save that one. And if you want to see how that will look like in our player, just go to your AG player hero, Niagara effect, look for player attack, save it, save this one here too. And if we press play, we should be able to see what the effect looks like. So my idea here, I wanted to have a bunch of 3D cubes going every direction, almost like a splash. And then I want to have a sword to just go 360 around my character. Almost like a magical sword, okay? That's kind of the idea for this particle effect. So let's go figure out first the cubes. So right now I'm using sprites, which is not what I want. I want to use a 3-dimensional cube. So I'm going to uncheck this and press a plus, mesh render, go here on the list, and then what I'm using is the cube that is above cube 1. So if you go here, this is the cube right there. Of course, with this, it's crazy big, right? So that's the next thing I'm gonna do is gonna go to initialize particle, and we don't care about sprites, so we can reset that, but we do care about the mesh scale mode. So I'm going to say render uniform, and this numbers need to be tiny because this mesh is the full size of it is super big. So let's go 0.01, 0.03. So every time I attack, a bunch of these tiny cubes show up and go in every single direction. So let's test that really quick. Look at that. That's cool. I like it. Okay. And as I'm moving, they stay behind because they are not in local space, they're in world space, which is pretty cool. What I want to do with this, though, I just want them to hit the ground and collide with it. So it looks a little bit more cool. All right, I just want to have some interesting visuals. I don't really care if it makes sense right now. I'm just testing stuff out, just having fun. So if I go here and I press it, it's almost like debris left behind, which I think is nice. It might be a little bit too much because if I keep pressing, it's just essentially raining a bunch of cubes. So what I'm going to do in my burst instantaneous, I'm just going to reduce this to 10. And we're going to save it. So every time that I press it, just a little bit of those cubes go around. And if I keep pressing, more is created, but it's not overwhelming. I'm happy with that, to be honest. I need to make sure that this, if I go to my initialize particle, my emitter update is set to do loop behavior once. So every time I press, it happens. It's not an infinite thing. If not, it's going to be every tick essentially is going to be casting any one of this. So that's very important that I set it properly, which it is. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go to my mesh renderer. I'm going to enable material overrides. And I show to you in another class how to create the material I'm going to use. But for now, I'm just going to go to the fire folder. And we're going to copy this here. And just going to rename to player attack. The material is pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. It's just two colors being lerped by something that calls for now. So if I right click in this thing here, start preview node, that's what for now is. So the edge is a one color, the center is going to be another. And now I'm doing just put a few values in roughness and metallic, and I'm getting the base color to be also the emissive color that I multiply by intensity, which means I can go here and make it super hot, not really what I want. But I just want it to look like a little bit like fire almost. So with that selected, I go back to my particle and just click on this arrow. And now I have those interesting tiny hot cubes that fall and go everywhere. So now all I need to do now is add the sword that rotates around me. Luckily for us, so I can actually rename this thing here and say fire cubes or debris, whatever you want. So the interesting thing about Assistant is that we can have several emitters. The emitter is this orange thing here. This is one particle emitter. The system can be a bunch of stuff together. The easiest way to understand, when you have an explosion, you have the main bag of the explosion, you have the shock wave, you have the debris flying everywhere. Each one of those things is going to be an emitter inside a system that is explosion. The explosion is made of several things. So what we can do here, we don't need to create another particle system for the sword. We can just go here, press E, and we can look for something that already have a behavior that's similar to us, to what we want, right? So the one that we want, luckily for us, already exists. It's called mesh rotation. So we can just select that, press add, and I'm going to rename this thing here to sword rotation. Okay. I'm going to select my mesh renderer. There's already like a gizmo there. And what I want to do, if you go to a project art, there is a selected already a folder called sword. And inside it, there's a sword that I downloaded from the marketplace. And all I did before importing was remove the hilt. Is that how you call the hilt, the thing that you're holding? I don't know. English is hard. But yeah, I deleted that thing. We're actually going to disregard everything that we see here, all the materials. We don't care about those. And what I need to do is just make sure that I have that sword selected. So go back to the folder sword, have it selected and put it here. So just for sanity's sake and check, I'm going to put here, every time I press, you see there's a massive sword that's being cast. Not really what we want. And the sword is being left behind too, which is not what we want either. We want the sword to always be with us, a magical sword. So what I'm going to do, when I go to my player star, the first thing I need to do is, on my emitter update, I need to change that to once. So it doesn't keep casting, and I can say the loop duration is 1. So it's fast. Second thing that I want to change is, with the whole thing selected, the first option is to limit it to local space. So if I compile and save, just so you can see those two changes done, and I press play, you can see the sword is following me, which is in local space, and it's not auto casting. It's only when I press the attack button that shows up. We're going to fix the rotation because it's set to render right now. But first, we need to change the size. So I'm going to go initialize particle. When it says render uniform here, I'm just going to say uniform. I'm going to change to, let's see, 1 might be good enough actually. I left my damage box there, so it's a little bit too big. So what we're going to be doing is just change that to maybe 0.6. I just wanted to kind of match the damage area that I have around my character. Yeah, that feels good for me. But the rotation is still bothering me a lot. So what I'm going to do, the thing that is happening here is that initially there is a rotation being applied on this set to render. And I can change that to be on set or whatever. Maybe put it to system might be useful. Let me see. I was going to remove altogether. Yeah, it's not really. Cool work. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. System might be interesting, but it's going sideways, which I don't like. So I can just disable this, and everything else is fine. So what I'm going to do to my mesh render, and I'm just going to change the rotation here, and that looks more like a cut. I'm happy with that. And if you're wondering what I'm pressing to see the preview, just press spacebar to just refresh again and start from the beginning of the timeline. And while we're here, let's just do another material override too. And I can just go here to my other one and say, find this. And on my material override here, apply here. So now I have this energy sword that I'm using all the time. gonna save everything. I'm gonna press play. It seems to me that the sword exists for a long time, and that's why I can see a ghosting of it. So if I go to my initialized part, I'm gonna change my lifetime to 1. The sword's gonna come and go really, really fast. So I go here. Which I like. Every now and then there's a little bit like a crazy spiral hit. So if you want it, you see there's like it's decreasing size. What you can do is just go to the scale mesh size and just change this to something like this. So it starts like this, it maintains the same size almost all the time, then it decreases really quick. And that's essentially what the curve means. I don't know. Was it better before? I'm not entirely sure. Before it was like this, like a linear graph. We can do like a speed ramp like this. Maybe that will gonna look better. It starts very small, gets big, and then it just decrease. But now I can't even see this word. So let's go back to how it was. Easy in and out, probably can be good too. Just subjective, right? As a matter of taste. I actually feel too the sword got too small. Even though it's respecting the damage area, I might just want to, for the sake of visual, for the sake of cool, let's make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, it just feels a little bit better. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I mean, this is just to test it, to make sure that we understand how to set up a particle effect, but it's up to you how you want to do it. It's really, really cool. I'm not a huge fan of the random let's say 10. Every now and then there's like a weird ramping velocity. I'm not entirely sure where that's coming from. Well, we can spend hours in this, but I'm happy for now. I think what we have here is good enough. We have everything that we need, all the systems. The creature can't damage us and kill us. We can kill the creatures, and you can see the damage on the top left of the screen. And of course, you can always create a UI for both my life and the creatures. But this is the building block for something, right? I think we're good. I think we're happy with this. And next, we're just going to do some final touches in the world. And then the last class is going to be just placing the creatures there and test it out.